You'll be shocked.
Very much so.
Greece is the same. We have 1 minute. For everyone in the audience, there's agendas back there if you so like one. Oh, it is 5 o'clock. All right, I would like to welcome everyone to the City of Ashtabula Community Development, Economic Development, Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. Ms. Bell, will you do the roll call?
Mrs. DiGiacomo,
Here.
Mrs. Mills,
Here.
Ms. Holman, Mr. Timonier.
Here.
I would like to welcome Mary Church from PCD, which is,
Planning and Community Development.
I knew that, I just was testing you. Good answer. She is our guest today, and she is going to give us updates regarding housing.
All right, so thank you for having me. I know I was supposed to come in November, and I would have been a little more prepared with this slideshow and that. I don't have that tonight.
That's okay.
So I'll just go over some of the data that I pulled. So far, from January 1st to yesterday, in our department, we have identified and notified property owners of 1,625 violations. That's not 1,625 different properties. It could be one property that has 20 violations, but that's that information. We do have right now 483 open activities for violation notices. So those are scheduled drive-bys or re-inspects. And this is all being accomplished by one employee, Steve Nelson. I don't know what we would do without him. He's amazing. I also wanted to bring it to your attention that so far this year, we have vacated 9 properties. And that's a pretty big number for me. I've been here for quite a while, and I don't think we have ever vacated 9 properties in a year.
So just for the listening audience, what does that mean, vacated 9 properties? What does that mean?
The occupants were removed from the property. Approximately 20 houses have been painted this year or are in the process of being painted. That's pretty exciting. I'm sure if you take a ride around town, you'll notice some of those houses. I also wanted to talk about some of the complaints that we're getting about the homeless camps. And when I say camps, it could just be a single tent or just a pile of rubbish that people are claiming, people are staying with. We're getting complaints that they are behind buildings in people's backyards. People are also taking trailers and campers and parking them in vacant areas. We are working on addressing those with the police department and Steve Chase from the fire department. And that's about all that I have. I also wanted to be here to answer any questions that you may have, questions that are coming to you from residents, or just questions that you may have about what we do in our office.
Mary, I have a question. So, and I had a couple calls on the different, I think this would be with your department, the firehouses that are, or how is that determined, which ones come down, or the whole process from, like, who owns it, then what happens next? Because I know it's just lengthy with court. Does the person have insurance? I know a lot goes into that, but, you know, I know that there's, I think, set so many that are coming down this year. Or,
So the city doesn't have any funds for demolition. I do believe the land bank has applied for a grant for demolition that does include some houses in the city. I think they're still waiting to get the okay on that grant. As far as firehouses, if they do not have insurance, oftentimes Steve Nelson from my department and Steve Chase will look into the property. There is a requirement from the fire department standpoint that the first floor is boarded up, but that's the extent. And then our department would then proceed with a vacant property registration and any other code enforcement that we can do from the exterior. For example, there is a property on Station Avenue. There was insurance on the property. They complied with Mr. Chase's orders and boarded up the first floor, and it sat for quite a while, and now the owner is actually going to tear it down
okay.
after a number of years later.
We don't have legislation that says, or is everybody, I mean, I know people are supposed to have homeowners insurance, but are some of them if they buy them and they pay for them cash, that they don't have the insurance, or they're hard to get insured because the condition of the home, is that?
So our legislation says if it's a rental, it must be insured.
Okay.
The property on Station Avenue was insured, and that's just one example of a number of fires that we've had. There's a firehouse uptown here that was owner occupied, and they did not have insurance.
When they do have insurance, we do require money be put into escrow, and that money is not released until they either fix the structure or take it down. And
Okay.
typically, the insurance company has to put that up on behalf of the homeowner, and so they want to see it come down as fast as possible. But that money is there in case they don't do what they're supposed to do with the property. That money then can be used for demolition. But typically, if there's money going into the escrow, the insurance company is going to pay to have it either fixed or torn down.
Can I ask, only because I just received a complaint about it. It's a house on Center Street is that the house you're referring to?
No, actually, I'm referring to a different one. But that property on Center Street is in court.
Oh, okay. It is in
And that
court.
owner has actually been to jail previously for another property in the city. You're talking about the one across from the former Red Cross, yeah.
I've gotten calls on that one too.
So, Mary, where do you see trends going?
Well, like I said, we have vacated 9 houses so far this year. It's
Would that be, those are rentals if the occupants are leaving, or does that mean?
no, I would say, Steve, they're all owner occupied. Maybe a couple. Yes, yeah.
So
Owner
it
occupied.
has to be really bad for you to
Oh, right, absolutely.
I thought when you said that, that was like homeless people that had moved in, that you got them out. No, they're it's owner occupied. Okay.
The most recent one was a rent. The most recent two were rentals.
Okay. So what happens in those situations? So now it's a vacated house, and now what happens?
So they're given the opportunity, once they're notified of the violation, they're given the opportunity to make right. If it's having water restored or cleaning the property up and getting it to where it's safe to live in. Even after we vacate, they're still given the opportunity. You know, we don't completely lock them out. They're given the opportunity to make the repairs or get the water service reactivated. In most cases, that doesn't happen.
So is it a money issue? Is it a lazy issue? Is it?
I don't know in all of the cases. Most of the cases, I assume it's money.
Sad.
Yeah, and we have resources that we give people. I have a resource sheet that we give to folks that has, Catholic Charities, Community Action, all of those resources to try to put them in touch with somebody that can assist them.
So Mary, I know there's some houses that will be, do you think there's like watchers of the, the foreclosures, and then we're getting this, we're getting this house for a steal because you're not finding those low house prices like you would see a lot of people that would, good landlords or folks that would buy up multiple properties, fix them up, they're nice rentals, and then you go, oh, that's a really good landlord. They got about 10 or 12 properties. But then we're seeing, I'll look up and the person's from out of town or whatever, and then I'll notify you, and you guys are ever gracious for giving somebody first, second, third chances or whatever. There's no reason that, working with your department is amazing. But, then after so long, I'll go by again, and then something's hanging a little more and a little more. And a lot of times, the person it's already has a tenant. That tenant is still in there in these deplorable conditions. So I don't know if you're seeing a flux of, it's changed and people are losing their houses more, and then you're not getting a lot of those or out-of-towners that are buying them, picking them up for a dime, and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and then getting a hold of somebody that's out of town I'm sure it takes twice as long.
It does, and we're actually seeing more and more when we notify a property owner of violations, they're unloading it immediately. They're transferring it. So then you go back in to make sure that your notification is in line so that you can file charges, and then whoop, it transferred. So then the process starts all over again.
What about squatters coming in after you've had the property vacated?
Occasionally, we get called from the police department, and then we just have to go and secure the property if necessary.
But you also asked about trends in housing. So as you see, we still have a pretty aggressive market here. And I think if we can get some of these slumlords out of the way, these houses can be put back into productive use. If we can get people that we know have the means to do something with these houses and put them back into meaningful use, we are still, on top of all of this, the department every day gets calls, do you know of any rentals? Do you know of any 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom rentals? We are still seeing people struggling to find housing that can afford housing, and it's on every level. It's not just, it's on every level, low income, medium income, high income. People are looking for housing, either permanent or rentals. And, so we're trying to do our best to get some of these people out of the way. And then, you probably are aware that we had a landlord who passed away, that owned
60 parcels.
60 parcels. That is now being wrapped up in probate, there are people doing some scrupulous things with those properties that we are monitoring and going after and doing things with. But, there's a situation where there was no succession planning, and now these are kind of like hanging out there, and we're really concerned of what's gonna happen to those 60 properties. So we've notified the land bank of that issue. We've been in contact with the owner's legal personnel, just to, if there's anything we can help to mitigate or move things along, we'd like to see that happen.
But that's another case where there is no enforcement.
Yeah.
I can't even properly serve the owner. We don't have access to him.
And I think that's what, there's certain cases like that people just don't realize, well, go over and tell them to clean it up. Well, it's not, in these cases, where do we go, the cemetery, there are lots of these cases out there. There's also lots of cases where people are just being lazy or whatever that case may be, and it goes through the court system and it has to do its thing. This department is active all day, every day, and sometimes on the weekends.
Mhm.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mary? No?
I just want to thank your department for everything that you do, because I know, and if there's anything more as counselors that we can do, I diligently drive around in my ward, and if I'm going around in another area today, I was saying, reporting potholes or, different houses, and I know it takes a long time, because I'll say then, hey, how about that house on, again, but I think for, the average little neighbor or whatever, they're like, well, I told her 2 years ago or something, and that's how slow between court and maybe somebody passing away and for things to flip over and then maybe get torn down, and then, so it's.
And some of those cases that you guys become aware of are habitual or that we can't get compliance on, but there are many, many success stories also within the department. I know we didn't bring it, but last summer and a little bit this summer, we went on a towing crusade with junk vehicles in yards, and I can't remember how many we ended up getting last year. Do you remember off the top of your head? But it was a lot. We made a lot of people angry.
And we're still
Doing
towing.
that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're still
I know, I've seen them around, and I know there's some tough cases. And it's not like you meet up with somebody who's a happy camper at that point
No,
either, so
yeah.
they have a
When
lot
we show up with a tow truck,
to deal with.
Yeah, it's not a happy scene.
Yeah, so, but again, if there's anything as counselors, I know we try to, go around and things and report to you and maybe try to get on top of it before it even gets worse. If we hear something about a property or whatever. But again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
because,
Thanks for coming.
Sure. Thank
That
you.
helps to get things cleaned up.
All right, moving on to city manager's report.
So one of the things that we wanted to talk about real quickly tonight, as most of you know, we have a revitalization district down in the harbor. We would like to look at expanding that district. Right now it goes up to West 6th Street, which is where Fire Chicken is. It does not include the west side of Lake Avenue. And then it goes, down through the harbor area to the river. That revitalization district allows for, I think we have 17 total, 15 total. We're allowed 15 total liquor permits within that district. Only 4 of them are in use right now. There are some opportunities, especially with the new Lakeway, becoming another, restaurant just being bought out, there are other opportunities to have liquor licenses down there. However, as you all know, there are no liquor permits available. We are allowed to expand the district. We've talked to the Liquor Control Board about this. It's seems to be as simple as defining that new district and then passing an ordinance. So what we are looking at would be one parcel to the west on Lake Avenue, all the way down to West 8th Street where, all the way down to West 13th Street, which would include like the Capo's Pizza properties, all the way down there, the plaza, on the east side of Lake Avenue. So the east side would go all the way to the river, and then as you come back down, it would be the Laird Drive that goes around Save-A-Lot area, and all the way down to the harbor, all the way down to the river, would be the new expanded area that we'd like to look at. The other goal with that would be, hopefully there are some merchants down there who have current liquor licenses that could then sell those in other areas of the city, and then pick up the D5L, which is what that license is called. The caveat to the revitalization district is the business has to have 75% food sales and 25% alcohol sales. So one of the reasons we couldn't get the hotel one of those licenses was because their mix is not going to be that. They're not serving food there. They're serving food, but it's only bar type food. They will certainly outpace alcohol sales in that 75%. So that's one of the reasons they had to go hunting for another one. But this could also help, some of the people on Main Avenue that are looking for licenses, if we can make some deals back and forth, if we expand the district. We do have to take a hard look and see who still has the traditional licenses down there to see if that would work. However, it would help the district if we're able to expand it for those additional licenses. So we'll bring that eventually to council with the defined area and everything there. One thing we may start working on for next summer would be the Dora. That's where you can walk throughout the district with alcohol. We'd probably define that just to Bridge Street. I think Geneva just put it in place, and I can't remember if the Strip has it, Geneva on the Lake. I think Geneva is the only place in the county right now that has it.
What is it called?
Adora, D-O-R-A, and no, I don't know what it stands for.
I think
So that's the Brick Street at Kent. You can now,
That's
yeah.
on Franklin Street, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know that there was a thing on our, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Madam President May, thank you. I know there was a thing on our Lyft server about Dora's, and John Lewis from Conneaut shared one he drafted. So if they don't have it yet, they're in the process.
Yeah, I don't know if they have one yet in Conneaut or not, unless it's down by the harbor area. They might have done that down by the Port Authority area down in the harbor, yeah.
I know I've had people ask me about that. I don't know, Jane, if people have asked you about that, and I wasn't sure the nuance of how you get it and.
It takes a little bit of buy-in also, because it's not just as simple as, okay, you have it.
Right.
There's a specific cup that each one of the restaurants would have to buy into. That's the only thing that can be used as they travel around. Some stores may not want people walking into their facility with alcohol, and there's signage that has to go on doors. So there is some buy-in for the property owners and the merchants. It's not just as simple as go buy a drink and walk around. And then it does not, when there's festivals and things like that, it doesn't mean that you can do that during the festivals either. So it's all stuff that we're gonna probably take a look at over the winter time and talk to the merchants and see if they're interested in it or not. We did finally have our first call with Eastgate to talk about the Appalachian Community Grant. We didn't get much more information than we originally had, but we're working through some details there. There'll be a second meeting, hopefully soon, with them when they get some answers to questions that we had for them, and then we can bring the merchants on board and start talking about what has been funded, because we're still picking through that process, and then the timelines of everything on how we got to get it done. Other than that, that's all we have right now.
Thank you.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
is there any municipal building, the old one, as far as,
No, I'm not confident in the responses that we got, so we'll be looking if there is any funds out there for demolition at this point.
okay.
But,
That would be a big undertaking to do that, okay.
All right, let's move to Parks and Rec. Either one of you want to go to the podium? Yeah. Give us updates.
On? Is this on? Yeah, I guess it is. Okay, I'm from the Parks Board, Ken Vanu, I'm the chairman. I'd like to bring up some things that, I don't know, we'd have a good report done by Mr. Dibble here and send it to everybody. If nobody's getting things that they need to get, I do invite Mr. Timonere to come at the meeting. I think I sent him a separate message, but I can put that on different, the same one when I send it. And I do, any council person can come if they want to come. It's good to come to the meeting. Because a lot of times, we might not be able to do stuff that you council people can do. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have the clout, I'm gonna say the clout. But everything we do at this board, we have the interests of the city. We're not doing it for us. I've said before, when I've come up before for some other things, I'm not doing it for myself, I'm doing it for the city. We're all doing it for the city to help somebody. Even if we don't like it, if it's gonna help a lot of people, let's do it. I think then, as far as the concession stand goes down there, I think when we was doing the concession stand, brought that up to bid to see what we wanted to do with it. I don't think we had that much money. If we could get money to do a concession stand, that'd be nice. I don't think, I've seen somebody say maybe bring it closer to the beach. I don't know if you could do that. That'd probably take a lot of engineer work. But being at that inclusion park looks like it's getting ready to go. My last meeting I had, I'm on the board for Happy Hearts. I know there's a tractor down there, whatever, is getting ready to dig. But I think that's gonna help. And if we can move that thing to have the little stand to make that for the music, I think this park could look good, and some more parking. I noticed during the summer, there wasn't no parking space for, a lot of cars to go in, and they shouldn't have to walk that far. And I think that'd be a good place for golf carts, but I had to push that in there. But here's another thing, that tree branch still in front of the sign down there, everybody tells me about it. I know that just bugs me to death. I get up at night thinking about that tree branch. I like to go down there with my own chainsaw and cut it down, because you spend all that money on that nice sign, and you can't see the sign. You just can't see it. And I would like to see that done. Like I said, I'll go down and do it myself. And Mr. Dibble's working on some kind of proclamation or something for a Gold Star recipient we have from one of the members of our committee, and I think that would look good for the city to do things for the veterans. There's a lot of veterans in the city, so I mean there's 4 Marines on our board and 1 Navy corpsman, so it's really good for the veterans. And if let's see what else I got here. Is there any way we can do like sell raffle tickets or something to make money to help out when we want to do things? Because I feel like we do have the money, but I feel like if we could get, I think people would be interested in building our city up with, I'll go buy that new basketball courts on Carpenter Road, and it's already being packed down there. I mean, there's a lot of people playing basketball. I do like to see a lot more pickleballs too, pickleball courts, because everybody plays it. I mean, I go by there, I get off work, I hurry up, run home, get my dog, I go up on the boulevard, and the place is packed already at 10 to 4. It's packed with pickleball players. And I feel like the raffle tickets, if we can get raffle, we might be able to get maybe more court. Maybe we could even get a court in Caden Park. I like to see it, like everybody says, why do you work on Walnut Beach? Well, Walnut Beach is a place where everybody goes in the summer, but Caden Park to me is a wonderful looking park. It just needs a little bit of makeup, I guess, to make it look a lot better. And then you have even the park over on Columbus Avenue. I don't know, to the left there's people playing football I go by, there's people playing football, and everybody uses that softball field for donations and things. But and what else I got here? And I like to know, I look around, I went to Lakeshore Park. I had to go to Kentucky this weekend, so I was gone. But I got back the last day on Sunday. I went down Lakeshore Park. And I see their community people and a lot of the other people, like I go to the St. Pellet Park to watch them sing. All their township people and all their have shirts that say park, member of the park. I'd like to see us be able to get a shirt to wear, to be, you know, proud of our park, our park, so we could have one of those that says, you know, board member. That way, when that comes up to vote on the levy again, and I like to see our names be brought out more, not our names, but our park. Like when you have the fireworks, you know, people. And when I was down, I went down to the beach this summer to a lot of those concerts, and they'd thank the hospital, they would thank the bank. I never heard the Parks Board in there at all. I never heard that once, thanking the Parks Board. It might not mean nothing now, but when you go to get that levy, they're gonna remember those, and you know, the name Park Board when it comes up to vote on it, so. And like I think the council and the city manager, even Ashley, she puts up with me a lot by me calling her. And Mrs. Cooper, she sees me every day just about. But I just feel like if you have something to do, and we give a lot of things, we've got books and books of things we brought up to get done. It doesn't get done, but we're not gonna stop. We're gonna keep going. And I have a thing where if we bring up new stuff, we won't do the old stuff, so. And yeah, I would love to see a new concession stand, and I'd like to see a lot of things down at the beach, and the other parks should get it too. There's no reason why they should be left out. But and if anybody ever has any questions, I'd rather see them call me or email me personally. I don't like to get on and talk about a board. I tell people, when I see that on there, I call them up immediately and tell them, don't do that, don't do it. It's not a board thing. And when I do answer something on there, I'll put on there, this is me personally, not the board. I do put that on there personally. I feel like it's not here to cut people down. We're here to help each other. So let's do it that way. You know, like I said, Mr. Dibble, anybody on the board, if you have a question, ask them, and we'll get back and we'll have a meeting. That's the way it should be done. That's why we're a board. I don't want one person answering a question that it should be a board question. It should be a board answer. So that's why we're here, to work as a team. So, and the team is the whole city. So I thank you for letting me talk.
So
if you have any questions.
when is your next meeting?
Our next meeting is gonna be the 30th. I just asked Mr. Timonier if we could use well, I asked Miss Ashley first, Miss Bell, and I hope she got her, well, I guess I got back to her, Brenda or somebody, I don't know. I just call up there and see if I can get things going, because I wanted to have a meeting this month, so I want to have it the 30th, because it's gonna start, everybody voted on.
September 30th?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody voted on a time, because we're given times what we could do, and everybody basically voted on the fourth Monday of and that's good for me too, because my board meeting at Happy Hearts is on a Thursday. Plus, I'm doing a lot of, what's it called, because I'm one of the Camp Lejeune guys, so I'm going to a lot of, doctor's appointments, so, and Monday's usually free for me too, so we can do Monday at 5:30, I believe.
So September 30th at 5:30 is your next meeting?
Yes, it's gonna be here,
And thereafter will be every
every
fourth
fourth.
Monday at 5:30.
Okay,
So I see.
Yeah.
perfect.
And
Thank you.
And he's been doing, Mr. Dibble's been doing a lot of our scribing. And so if you ever have anything you need done, you know, if you can't get a hold of him, get a hold of me, and he could put it out. I think he's doing an incredible job. He's only doing it temporary, which means he'll be up for another 30 years. So, and then he'll be done. But other than that, anytime you have something, just get a hold of one of us, and, you know, can't promise to give it right back, but that's what we're here for. And we're only here to help the city. We don't want nothing else but that. But I do like the fact that, you know, get a hold of the person, and then we can chew it amongst ourselves and get it done.
Ken,
Yes?
I don't know if anybody's brought it to your attention or asked. I know I couldn't make it to the last meeting. I sent Jana a email or a text too late, but we have a committee that they're working on getting a new committee again for honoring policy and procedure again, or to go over what we currently have, and then so when people throw things out, you know, it would go to this committee, nay, yay, go through the rules and blah, blah, blah. So before, when I was on it, before I was on council, there was a member of the Parks Board on that, which, because most of the times it affects, at a park. Can we do this at a park, or can we name that at a park? So I just didn't know if anybody brought that to your attention.
No, I haven't heard, I don't know.
Maybe at your meeting, you
Yeah.
could chat about it, and
Right.
then you would get a hold of Ashley, Miss Bell, if somebody's interested, but,
Well, if it's anything of veterans,
I would be interested.
he's the man.
there you go.
There. Check.
With that,
was easy.
if I may.
Sure.
With that, I would say that, the Parks Committee might be a good committee to fill that.
Mhm.
In that it's a relatively mostly new committee, a lot of new blood on there, new faces. And, we've got some military folks on there, we've got business folks, so I think it's a pretty well-rounded committee. And, you may wanna consider just having the Parks Board fill in that with some council persons, and, that might solve the issue.
Thank you.
Yes, because he belongs to the Marine Corps, Kalinowski League with the Marine Corps, plus he belongs to a lot of these legions. I belong to a couple of legions, but I just can't get there, it's just in time. But he's a real big member of the American Legion, so, and they do a lot, and he's trying to get money through them. Plus, he's trying to get somebody through the VA to come in for the new thing we're asking for, that gold medal star person, so I think it really look good, that Montford Marine, so it's pretty good. I mean, it's gonna help the city, because people will come in, to do that dedication, and it'll probably be somebody that has a gold star,
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Ms. Sains, can I address some of those things that were talked about?
Yeah.
So just a quick update on the inclusion park. Yes, things are moving along. The city staff was able to find someone to do all of the groundwork, the excavating, everything is being donated to the city. So we were able to cut that cost out of there. That's $500,000 that we brought to the park there. We do have to put some sidewalk that's going to go around it. It's a extremely tight coordination between all the things that we have to do to try to get this thing installed here before the weather flies. So yes, you're going to start to see dirt moving down there pretty soon. Smithfield, the only thing we're waiting on there is to have the surfaces done. The asphalt has to cure for 30 days, and then the surface will be done. So actually, I think the 30 days was up yesterday. So of course, this would be the week that we have some rain, but as soon as they can get out there to do that surface, that's the last piece that we need for that park. You mentioned Caden Park and having some pickleball courts or different things down there. If you recall, a couple years ago, I paid to have the engineer's estimates done for that park. That never really went anywhere. That was all presented to the board. But everything that you guys wanted and have requested me to do, we did for that. So that information is somewhere. I'm sure I can pull that back up. As we mentioned several times before, the tree that's partially blocking that is owned by the Hubbard House. We're working with them, and we've even offered to pay to have some of that taken down. We are waiting, as you heard this morning, Brobes Tree Services, one of the people that we've contracted with, they have over 25 trees that they need to take down in the city that are in bad shape and posing a risk. So they have a lot on their plate right now, but we're trying to get that done. Lastly, as far as bands on the beach go and the names mentioned, just a reminder, all of that was done through my office. My staff booked all the bands, got every ounce of funding for those bands, and we did not take a dime out of the parks levy for that, which was a good thing. That allows us to do all these other things because, in addition to the $150,000 grant that we got for Smithfield, we still do have to put money into it from the parks levy in order to make Smithfield go. That there, and we will have to put a little bit of our funds in to do the sidewalk work for the inclusion park down at the beach. In addition to the inclusion park, and we're not going to be able to get it done this year just because of timing, we would like to put in at least 4 handicap parking spots somewhere along that loop.
Yeah.
So our engineers are looking at that and what that cost is going to be, but that's going to be a next spring project to get that portion of it done. And then I will try to attend your meeting on the 30th, but at that meeting, I know it's been mentioned several times that you've given the city a bunch of stuff that doesn't get done. I would love to know what those things are.
That stuff is basically stuff that, you know, it just doesn't get done. But
But
we-
that's what I
yeah,
wanna know, what those
exactly.
things are,
Oh,
because
I mean,
we're getting a ton of stuff.
if I can get
out
the
of
book that
parks.
we had from, our last treasurer, and I think I may have that. I mean, we got a book full of stuff, but it's not all gonna get done. It's more of a dream wish. But we
Okay.
do ask for it. And as far, like, who's
Okay, well,
doing?
and I would only say this too, because we've had this discussion several times.
A lot of times.
And we'll have it again on the 30th.
Right.
Just coming because somebody said, hey, it would be nice if we had this.
Right.
And saying, well, we should do this.
Yeah.
I've asked this park board for as long as I can remember, what's the master plan? We brought in someone from the outside that helped you guys through a whole survey. We got all those results back. What parks we were gonna focus on, what parks we wanted to get rid of, what parks needed more attention, what's the master plan so that we can prioritize those funding levels. And we still don't have that. So we would really like that. Happy
Okay,
to
from
have
my
our staff.
understanding, I thought that was the master plan when we had that done.
That
And
was just a
everybody
bunch
voted
of,
on it.
that was just a bunch of ideas that were all put from the community. If we still needed to vet all of that to see what it came
Well,
out
then we'll
for.
get that master
So,
plan going. And
That's,
we'll
I
have
would,
one.
I would really like to see that.
And who's doing the donation work for the inclusion park? You said, is that CAP? Because I see that on the.
Cap Steel is
My
one
cousin.
that's doing some of the
Okay.
donation down there, yep. Mhm.
Good. All right, and I had one more other one. Those pickleball courts in Smithfield, you say it's gonna be a while before that's open up, or is that what you said, or?
No, so remember, the Smithfield, the
Yeah.
tennis court that's up at Walnut
Yeah.
is gonna move there. And
Okay.
then those are gonna
Oh,
become
okay.
2 more permanent pickleball courts up there.
Yep, that'd be
I know we
good.
mentioned possibly having more. There's probably room to the west to add 2 more. But I think we need to see what other communities are doing. Right now, I think Geneva has pickleball courts. Conneaut was looking at them. And I know, hopefully, if the Y starts working towards their new facility, they're talking about having some pickleball courts as well. And the facility on Main Avenue that's going to be indoors is also going to have
Shenanigans.
pickleball courts. So don't want to oversaturate, but it's between 80 to 100 grand to add 2
Really?
courts. Yeah.
That's why I've seen it. We can't do some kind of a raffle ticket like the YMCA or somebody does where you could sell raffles and, I mean, there's some
usually
money.
with municipal money, you
Yeah,
can't do
can't do that.
raffles and kind of gambling type things, but, and unfortunately, that's where funds start getting a little haywire when
yeah,
other
because I
people
know
become in
there's
charge
a
of
lot of chatter about them pickleball courts and, I don't play it. I got 2 bad knees, but I would love to play it. But I mean, that's why I say, I don't
Yeah,
care if I play it.
it's
but
extremely
it's
popular,
good.
and I'm glad we
Yeah,
did it.
I
And
do.
Like I said,
yeah.
we're gonna add, the 2 that'll be permanent now,
Right.
so there'll be a total of 4 courts down
I
there.
think it's the best thing the city ever did. I think it really livened the city up. I've seen more people walking around the harbor uptown than I've ever seen in a lot of years, and playing ball, playing it at the West Avenue or there. And, I mean, there's more kids out doing a lot, and I feel like this will bring people to Ashtabula's when you have a good entertainment for them. You gotta have entertainment, or people ain't gonna come, I don't know.
All right,
All right, thanks a lot. I
thank
appreciate it.
you. All right, new business. So, did everyone get a chance to look at the Menor ordinance? I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. Do you want to take over for a second?
I can. I've done some research since we
Okay.
talked. Catherine reached out to the law director in Mentor about this ordinance, and he told her that essentially it was passed for one person. They don't have a lot of homeless
I
camps.
know they don't.
They had one person who was living on a sidewalk tree line, and so they passed this in order to move them. Did some research on the Supreme Court case. And the Supreme Court case, the US Supreme Court case, said that basically prohibiting sleeping on the sidewalk does not violate the Eighth Amendment prohibition of its cruel and unusual punishment. which was part of what the old decision found that these prohibitions were. It didn't touch the other parts. It didn't say anything about the right of free movement or any of your other amendment rights. It just dealt with the cruel and unusual punishment part. Catherine's concern is that we will still have a problem because we don't have any, we have one shelter, basically, Samaritan House. But I guess the bigger question is, other than those things, there's nothing in this that either of us found offensive. It's certainly something that is based on Mentor, and Mentor hasn't had to challenge it in court, and appears to track the Supreme Court decision. It also has, as Mr. Timonier says, a lot of what we already have. Certainly the sleeping on the sidewalk and the tree line stuff is, we have ways of handling it, but I don't know that we have a specific ordinance that prohibits it. It would be helpful for a change of pace to have all of the ordinances dealing with one problem in one part of our city ordinances, as opposed to having to seek and find. So that would be a positive. In speaking about it, one of the things Catherine and I were concerned about, and she was looking at it today, is the punishment section. Because it starts with citing them for a minor misdemeanor, and then the second offense takes it to a misdemeanor of the 4th degree. And I guess the question then becomes, as it moves up to a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree, what are we going to do with these folks? In terms of, are we going to fine them? Are we going to put them in jail? The jail's already full, and the county jail isn't taking new inmates. So it's kind of that catch-22 we always end up in terms of punishment. But in terms of and that's kind of way more than you asked, but.
No, I'm trying to find solutions to a problem that is just
And I guess that's the
difficult to resolve.
And I guess that's the first question, is where are the problem areas? Because Steve Chase, we spoke to Captain Chase. He's in our office pretty regularly. And he says that the camps are on the township side, which means we can pass this ordinance, but it won't make a bit of difference because we can't enforce it in the township. If there are camps in the city, like Mary said, and I don't know that there are. I know that we have transients. Jim? Mr.
No,
Manager?
I would only say, I mean, and actually in some of the properties that we have found where there's tents in people's backyards that you call us on, we've found that the property owners are charging some of these people to live in their backyards. So we have discussed tent ordinances and things like that, but you also have a family who puts a tent up in the backyard and their kids sleep in the backyard, and now, who are we punishing here to do things like that? As far as encampments, yeah, there seems to be some areas where they are, but when we talk about the Gulf, and if I'm not mistaken, Mrs. Cooper, this ordinance is for municipal-owned parks, correct? I mean, that's how you have to legislate.
Right.
So, I mean, for properties that the city doesn't own, we have all that. We have the no camping. We have the no, we have all that for our parks now. And the municipal-owned properties.
What about the parking deck? What's the where would that fall? Because
Yeah,
that's owned by the city, and I know people do camp there.
We often go through there and clean it out and move people along.
So let me ask this, because this is my belief. If we were to have everything in one section, so maybe there's only one more item in here than what exists, that would be easier, I think, than looking it up. But I think I just see this problem growing. I see the problem really growing, and I want to de-escalate it. And I see us as passing something like that as a step toward that direction.
But is it, when you speak to the providers, is it a problem? I wonder if it's a problem that's actually growing or a problem that's perceived to be growing.
I can tell
When
you
you talk about the
from just
numbers.
driving down Main Avenue, it is growing. It is
Well,
growing.
and I can tell you, some of that is because we continue to vacate and we continue to move people out of what some people call camps. And this is what we have warned, if we don't have the facilities for people to be housed at, which, you know, those are coming along, it becomes more visible as we vacate things and as we address the problems.
I mean, I think this makes a statement, certainly, but I don't know that it gives anybody any more teeth to enforce anything than
We
what
have
we
to
already
start
have.
somewhere. It's like admitting you have a problem, right? You start with, okay, we have this problem. I mean, everybody can feel how they feel, but I do feel that we need to make a statement. I really do.
Okay.
I don't know how.
Can I
You
ask a
feel.
question on loitering? So for our parks, I know it's really hard to determine, like, how do I know that you went there to sit at 1 p.m. and then now it's whatever time? You know, I sort of get that. But I know when I drove across town and I looked, and then, you know, this morning, we had a meeting this morning, and then I stopped at the post office. Like, right now, I would probably count, there might have been like 14 people there or more when I drove by. So if somebody else wanted to enjoy that space, they may not feel comfortable doing that, of course not. So I just don't know, like, how does they determine that, I don't know. Like, is that anything we have on paper for, like, when you sort of kind of like move along, you've been here a long time, or I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, things are hanging off thing and all. So that's kind of where the Supreme Court gets a little bit more hinky. They get a little bit more restrictive than they would with something like this, because this deals specifically with people setting up shop, setting up a tent. It's really triggered by having a tent or a bed or someplace, you know, living for more than 48 hours at a particular location. The parks close at certain times.
Dawn to dusk.
Yeah. So if there are people in the park after dusk, the police move them out, they cite them, they move them out. Habitual violators can be banned from parks, from city parks for up to 5 years. Or we had, the court banned somebody last year who had drugs and a fake gun and everything in the park, and so that was just a no-go. So they were banned for 5 years. But that's where loitering is. It's not a number of hours or a location or anything like that. And it's kind of like this nebulous word. It doesn't really.
Well, I think from calls that I get, I'm going to use Cornelius Park as an example. When you have people's personal belongings strung all over the gazebo and people that are there from dawn to dusk, it doesn't look inviting, and it's not a good look for our parks. So
I agree, but nowhere in this ordinance would that be prevented.
really,
This ordinance talks about, all right, yeah, the ordinance talks about living on
when you have all your
camping.
personal
Sleeping
belongings,
overnight. Yeah. camping.
Ms. DiGiacomo, when we see people that are hanging stuff off the gazebo or doing anything like that, the police department, when they are in the area and not patrolling something else, will stop there, ask them to remove all that stuff, and if there's excessive stuff around, we will ask them to leave the park. We've done that multiple times.
So where do we go from here?
I don't know that anybody has the magic bullet.
Well, I mean, if it's council's feeling that adopting more language like this, and if it's the solicitor's feeling it helps our police department enforce some of these things, then I mean, we've been talking about the Menor ordinance for quite a while,
Yeah,
so.
we can adopt it to the city. We just need direction.
So I'm going to make a motion that we adopt it, and then we clean up our ordinances so it's all in one spot. Any seconds?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Oh, it's a step. So it might not be the magic step, but it's a step.
Mrs. Giacomo, so what exactly, you made a motion to adopt the Menor ordinance that you sent out today to council?
Correct.
Okay. And just as somebody that lives in the city, I don't live in the city, but when I see people at this park on Main Avenue, I call the non-emergency number. Sometimes I've left council meetings and I've seen people there with their belongings there. I call the non-emergency police number and let them know that. And I don't know what happens afterwards, but just trying to be proactive, because it is a nice park and you do want to go there maybe for lunch or whatever. So I just think we as people who are residents here have to be proactive about that. I've gone to this Walgreens at night and 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and there's people who appear to be houseless, asking for change. And me as a single person, I don't always feel comfortable going in my purse and, giving somebody something. They've been in this parking lot here. So we just have to all be vigilant. Mr. Timonier said at a lot of meetings, we do have a lot of resources in the city, and sometimes that makes Ashtabula more inviting. So I think that we have this conundrum where we want to help people, but we're also getting an influx of people because we have so many resources. So we just all have to do our part to get that under control, but I don't think that the unhoused population is going to decline. I mean, it's a matter of people not having resources, people having too many resources, people abusing substances. I mean, I pay attention to what's going on too. I don't know what we can do besides just reporting things and using the resources that we already have.
Thank you, Ashley.
So, Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Just received a message from somebody who's watching,
Oh,
and they suggested that as long as the people in the public space are following the park rules, it's going to be difficult if they don't voluntarily move along to move them along. So it may be worthwhile to look at the rules that govern our municipal parks.
so would that be something council would do, or would that be something we would have the Parks Board do, or it goes from them to us?
From them to you.
Okay. You guys now have another homework assignment.
I got a, are we allowed to ask questions?
Sure.
I got a question. When I was a cop, I always told people they weren't allowed to stand as loitering. If they didn't leave, then we cited them in the court, and they had to leave. Unless that law changed,
Cited them in the court for what?
for loitering,
Yeah, that changed.
it changed.
Yes, sir.
Why?
Because the United States Supreme Court said it had to change. People have a right of freedom of movement and freedom of assembly, and so,
And I always thought so did the people wanting to go inside a ice cream stand or a store. They didn't have to be afraid to go in the store because you had all kinds of people loitering outside the door. So that's why I thought they made the loitering as a misdemeanor, minor misdemeanor, for
And if somebody is blocking an entrance to a building or prohibiting people from moving around a parking lot, then they can be charged with disorderly conduct.
But not order.
Well, it's still a minor misdemeanor, it's just, yeah, but they have to actually be preventing movement.
So with that being said, you said, not allowed to prohibit their movement or whatnot, as long as they're obeying, park rules.
Mhm.
If they've established themselves on that gazebo, and a family shows up on a Saturday that wants to get married, they're not gonna feel welcome to go up onto that gazebo that, unfortunately, excuse my language, as you walk around there now, it smells like urine, and get married there, and this person's not gonna move off there with all their stuff. What do you do?
Well, I can speak to that, Mr. Dibble. So there was the Juneteenth festival was held at that park, and the organizers called APD, and APD was able to remove them. So just what I said earlier, we just have to remove our resources. Loitering was created to target a specific demographic, so you can't move people just for standing somewhere. So we just have to be vigilant and use what we have.
So I wonder if one of the Parks Board rules would be maybe the gazebo can only be used with a reservation.
Well, then you're gonna, sorry.
Oh, that was too oversimplified?
The problem is who, and it's not a matter of oversimplifying, it's a question of then who's in charge of the reservations? Is it the city manager's office that you call to give the reservations to? Is it the chairman of the Parks Board? Is it, I
I hear what you're saying.
yeah.
But is that something that is a possibility?
Well, technically, you're not supposed to use Lakeshore Park, their
Pavilions?
pavilion, without permission. But good luck getting in touch with the person you get permission from.
I think the issue there, though, is Lakeshore Park takes reservations for a fee. I really don't wanna see the gazebo reserved for a fee. It's a
Right.
city park for city residents.
Right.
And I know when, Mr. Martinez was contracted to design that gazebo, he was looking for public use.
Mhm.
And then you have to watch who you turn down, who you don't let go, because then you're getting all kinds of, almost like an eviction, you really get yourself into some problems then. Because they already settled themselves and try to move in somebody, you have to evict them, so, I don't know.
Well, we have a starting point for a conversation. All right, our next meeting is October 15th at 5:30, and our guest is the hospital. And with that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.